There's a whole lot of stuff up here on stage today. Maybe you're thinking, well, why? Why is that? Is there going to be a silent auction? Hey, could there be a garage sale? No, don't get excited. No garage sale today. This stuff, well, this is some of my stuff. I brought a few of my things up here today. They're not for sale, they're just for display. Things like this. This is my office chair. I have been using, would you believe I've been using this same chair for probably about 25 years now? Those of you who are in the front, you're probably looking saying, yeah, it kind of shows. Those of you in the back, you're probably like, yeah, we can tell that it's been around for a while too. But I like it. I'm familiar with it. I'm comfortable with it. I've got some other things. I got my phone up here. And here we got a snow shovel. Do you guys think that it's safe to put these in storage yet for the year? I still got mine out, but I don't know. I hope I don't have to use it again. We got this. Here's my toaster. The thing about my toaster is, if you look on the sides, both sides kind of have like a blue pattern on it. It didn't come that way. What happens, I've got this habit of putting the toaster too close to the bread bag. It melts. Anybody else do that? Just me. Toaster. Here I've got my car keys. I hope those are still there when I leave a little later today. And here I've got, this is my crescent wrench. And this actually I got this from my dad, and he got it from his dad. You know how many times I've used this? Never. Not even once. And that's probably a good thing because I don't know squat about plumbing. But I still have it. James chapter 5. We've been teaching through this letter in the New Testament of James, and today we get to the 5th chapter. It's the last chapter in James, and we're going to look at the first 6 verses. And that is the way we tend to do things here. We teach through the Bible. It's not like, okay, we're going to go through James. I'm going to pick 5 passages that we're going to like, and we'll go there. We teach through all of it, the whole thing. So today we're at the chapter 5, the first 6 verses, and it begins this way. James chapter 5, verse 1 says, "Now listen, you rich people." Did you hear that? We get to chapter 5 and notice something. There's a shift. James, he's no longer addressing everybody. James is now addressing a very specific group of people. You say, well, who? Now listen, you rich people. So when we hear that, we may think, oh, the rich. Well, who's that? If James showed up today at your house or apartment, I imagine he would say something along the lines of, wow, where are we? Is this some kind of a palace? You say, well, no, this is my house. You say, well, it has so many rooms. How many families live in this place? Because James would say, well, his house, he had one room. His whole family lived in just that one room. And then maybe he'd look around a little bit and he'd say, oh, this knob over here, what's this do? So well, you turn that knob, you pull it, and fresh water comes right into my house. It's like, wow, I like that. And James, he'd also probably think something along the lines of, it's a little chilly out today, but I come into your house and it's really, the temperature's perfect. Where's your wood pile? Where's your fire? He said, oh, well, I don't need that because I've got a furnace that warms things up and I've got an air conditioner that cools things down. I can create any temperature that I desire. James would be like, nice. See, you and I, we live in a world where if your phone is an iPhone 10, you're roughing it. That's our world. Into that, James begins chapter 5 with these words, now listen, you rich people. Fidelity Investment Group, they recently conducted a survey of their clients, and specifically their clients who had over $1 million in assets, and these assets didn't include their house and it didn't include their retirement accounts. So of the people who had $1 million that weren't in any of those, but were other assets, they asked them the question, they said, well, do you feel wealthy? 42% of them said, no, we don't feel wealthy. Are you wealthy? No, I'm not. Dude, you've got over $1 million. What does it take to consider ourselves wealthy? A lot of people don't think they're wealthy because we have this tendency to compare. And when we compare up. Rich is always the person who has a little bit more than we do. If you live in an apartment, the rich are those who live in a house. If you live in a house, the house are those who live in a little bit bigger house. And if you live in a bigger house, well, the rich, they're the people who have 2 houses. We need to understand we live in a world where 1 billion people don't have access to clean water. We live in a world where 1.6 billion people don't have electricity. So when James says this, now listen, you rich people, we should recognize that's us. That's most of us. Historically speaking, you and I, we live at a level that the ancient kings and queens could only dream of. So if we say, okay, that's me, I'll listen. James, what do you have to say to the rich? He continues, verse 1. Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. That's not very nice. I don't love that. A word to those of you who maybe you're just checking Christianity out, or maybe you're just checking the church thing out and you're thinking, oh man, really? Is that what this is going to be? Are they going to pull out the plates and start passing, taking an offering? No, we're not going to do that. We don't even take offerings during worship services. So relax. That's not where this is going. That's not the goal. For everyone, if you want to understand what God is saying in James 5, verses 1 through 6, then the best way to do that isn't to apply this to somebody else. To hear this and think, oh man, I wish my sister heard this because she just this week bought that luxury item. She needs to hear this. No. If you want to hear from God, rather, lower your defenses, posture your heart to say, Lord, what are you speaking to me? And recognize nobody here is going to hold you accountable for what you hear in this. This is just between you and the Lord. It's a personal opportunity for you to listen and say, okay, God, I'm going to let go of justifications that come into mind. I'm going to lower my defenses. I'm just going to posture my heart to say, Lord, what are you speaking to me? Because when we do that, I do think we'll hear from him. Verse 1, now listen, you rich people, weep and wail. Does that say that it's wrong to be rich and to have a lot of stuff? No, it doesn't say that. Just take a stroll through the Bible because many of our biblical heroes were wealthy. Abraham, wealthy. Isaac, wealthy. Jacob, wealthy. Joseph, wealthy. Boaz, wealthy. David, wealthy. And Solomon. Solomon, that guy was uber wealthy. He was like Bill Gates wealthy. Being rich, it's not a sin. If that's you, don't feel guilty about that. God has entrusted you with a high capacity to bless. You have a responsibility, use it appropriately. If that isn't you. Well, be careful. Because the great temptation when you see somebody with more is to become discontent. The great temptation is when you see somebody who's got more than you do, is to focus on what I don't have instead of the things that I do have. Or maybe just as dangerous as that is to develop a resentful spirit, to start judging those who have what we do not. And James is saying, don't judge those with great wealth. Because, God has entrusted them with great responsibility. Don't judge them. Pray for them. Because it does take a person of deep self-discipline to honor God with wealth. Verse 1, now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. That's in here. It says there's the misery coming on you, and I can read that. And I can teach that, and I can tell you about that, but I'm going to just be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure I really believe that. I mean, just look at something like this. Look at that guy. Does he look miserable? Have you ever seen anyone on a jet ski that looks miserable? Because I have not. People who say, well, money can't buy happiness, they don't know where to shop. Right? Did you ever think you'd hear that in a church? I'm not the Christian cliche guy. Here's what I believe. I believe that money can buy happiness. That's why we want it. That's why we spend it. But when we buy happiness, be aware that there are other things that come along with that. I'll give you an example. The very first car that I ever had, it was our family's Ford Pinto. Don't even make that car anymore. It was two-toned. Red in some parts and rust in a whole lot of other parts. And this thing, top speed on this was 45 miles an hour. And looking back, I'm thinking that's probably why my dad, who had 3 teenagers in the house at the time, that's probably why he got it. It was kind of a beater when it comes to cars. And I really didn't care what happened to it. It could get a door ding, didn't matter. It could get a scratch, I didn't care. It could get keyed while it was sitting in the high school parking lot. I probably wouldn't even notice. I remember when I got an upgrade. Ford Taurus. Living the good life. But something changed. I noticed the scratches. And I noticed the new door dings. And these things, I made a decision, and my decision was this: I am not going to park next to Ford Pintos anymore. But what happened here, that newer car, it brought me happiness, but that happiness, it did not come alone. It came with a companion called anxiety. See, the more we have, the more we have to be worried about. Do you know this dynamic? Have you experienced this dynamic? Our life may have more stuff now than it did before, but what tends to happen is we acquire more things and more stuff. We also acquire more things to be anxious about. It's a little bit of a downside. James also adds this. He says, when it comes to our stuff, verses 2 and 3, he says, your wealth has rotted, and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. And all James is doing here is he's really just stating the obvious. He's saying things like this. He's saying things like our phones. He's saying things like, our toasters. He's saying things like this. They're not going to last. James, he's saying all of our stuff, everything we own, it's all going to get old. It's all someday going to wear out. It all has a shelf life. None of these things are going to stand the test of time. None of these things are going to last forever. It's the word that you don't hear in the store. And it's the word that you don't hear in the advertisement. Temporary. 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 All of it. So for those of you who are visual learners, let me do this. I've got in my hand some yellow sticky notes, and on it, I just wrote the word temporary. So I'm going to put this on everything up here that's temporary. And this isn't a real hard thing to do because, right, the toaster is temporary. The wrench, we say, well, that's temporary. My lamp, temporary. Snow shovel, things temporary. Got the chair over here. It's been around a long time, but it's not going to last forever. It's temporary. You see, these things, none of them are bad. None of these things are evil. They're just temporary. Temporary happiness, temporary satisfaction, temporary pleasure. They're all going to come to an end. Sometimes I imagine God watches in amazement at how people can just wear themselves out and put so much of life into things that aren't going to last. When we recognize the things that we have, that they're really just temporary gifts, then our life can be filled with gratitude for what we do have, rather than resentment and envy for what we don't have. And that's a much better way to do life. Well, James continues, verse 4. He says, look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. Let me explain that. In first century Palestine, there were two primary socioeconomic groups. There were landowners, and then there were laborers. In this passage, the wealthy landowners, they were hiring the laborers to do the work in their fields. But when it came to salary, they were ripping the workers off. The landowners, they were profiting, while the people who were doing the work for them, they were struggling just to make ends meet. See, the Bible isn't just a book about what happens when we die. If you are experiencing today, if you're experiencing unfair treatment, if you're a person who's experiencing injustice, James is saying, God knows about that. God sees that. God is aware about that. And God, He hears your cry. If you are an employee, God cares about your salary. Because He cares about you and because He cares about your family. He wants you to budget wisely. And He wants you to earn a wage that can put food on the table. If you are an owner or if you are in management, God cares about your business ethics. James, he's saying, well, pay your employees what their labor is worth. Don't exploit them just to make more money. Don't just think of your business through the filter of how can this make money for me. It's a tool that God is entrusting to you for your benefit and for the benefit of others. For your employees, for your customers, for your clients, for your community. God has been generous with you, and He asks you to be generous with others. Well, here's how the passage ends, verses 5 and 6. It says, you have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who was not opposing you. People in their community had financial need. There was hunger and there was poverty, but some of these rich people, they were ignoring that. It's not a sin to have stuff. It's not a sin to enjoy stuff. I mean, for one, I'm glad that I have a chair that I can sit in. I'm glad I have a phone that I can communicate with. But James, he's saying, remember, remember, remember. The purpose of stuff, the purpose of wealth isn't so that we can hoard it. The purpose is so that we can share it. God, he says, while you're here, while you have life on this earth, God's saying, I am entrusting some of my stuff with you so that you can get in on the joy of sharing it with others. James 5, verses 1 through 6. It's not wrong to be rich. Being rich isn't a sin. It is a responsibility. James 5, verses 1 through 6. It's not wrong to have wealth. Right? You can say wealth, it can bring happiness, but beware, because it can also bring anxiety. James 5, verses 1 through 6. It's not wrong to have stuff. None of these things, none of the things up here are bad. None of these things are evil, but none of them are going to last. It's all temporary. Temporary happiness, temporary satisfaction, temporary pleasure. These things are all temporary. But there is something up here that's not temporary. Stephen, I'm going to invite you to come on out here with me. And Stephen Arridge, you may have noticed him. He's on the worship team this morning. And oftentimes, Stephen, you're one of the brave people who's back there at that booth. You're running the lights and doing that kind of thing. And I think they said, well, who's courageous enough just to come and stand up here with Mike for a little while? And they pointed the finger at you, Stephen, so you draw the short end of the stick on that. But I do appreciate that. And what I've done, as you can see, like the yellow stickers on here, the yellow stickers represent temporary. But there is another option. The other option is this, another set of stickers. What color would you call these, Stephen?
My favorite color, blue.
Blue. All right, we're going to go blue. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying blue, green. We're going to go blue with this. So there's also blue. And so what we're going to do with the blue stickers is put the blue stickers on everything up here that's lasting. Because there are some things that aren't temporary. There are some things up here that are lasting. There are some things up here that are going to last forever. And here's one of them. Stephen. Now you're going to last forever. Another one up here with me. You. Someday, our body is going to die. But the Bible teaches us that's not the end. The Bible teaches we will live forever. That's something that people are forever. Stephen, thank you. You can go get ready for the closing song. I'll be wrapping it up here in just a moment. I want you to hear this passage again. I'm just going to read the whole thing to you, but now hear it and see it through this lens of temporary, of lasting. Okay, here it is. James 5 starts with this. Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted. Your moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of slaughter. Here's what I hear in that. We aren't just saved from. We are saved to. We are saved to. We are saved to help. We are saved to bless. We are saved to add value. We are saved to serve. We are saved to share. I invite you to apply James 5, 1 through 6 in a very practical way to your life. Because really, everything everything we have, everything around us fits into one of two categories, right? Either temporary or lasting. And I think what James is trying to communicate in this passage is this. He's encouraging us to make a list of all of it, of all the stuff. Put a sticker on it. Put a yellow sticker, just mentally, on all the things that you have that are temporary. Better put one on all your appliances. Hey, better put one on all your technology. Put one on all your vehicles. Put a yellow one on all your home furnishings. Put a yellow sticker, put it on your bank account. Put a yellow sticker, put it on your investments. Put a yellow sticker on your house. Because none of those are going to last. And then mentally, put a blue sticker on everything that is lasting. Put one on your friend. Put one on your family member. Put one on the person sitting right next to you today. Put one on your neighbor. Put one on your boss. Probably not literally, but mentally, right? Put one on your coworkers. Put one on the person that sits next to you in algebra class. Put one on the waiter or waitress. Put one on the person who's a bad driver. Put one on that person that you don't like because they're lasting. They're lasting. They're lasting. James 5, 1 through 6. Stuff isn't bad. Stuff isn't evil. It's just temporary. Temporary satisfaction, temporary happiness, temporary pleasure. And James, he's saying, don't be fooled. It's not going to last. There's only one thing that lasts. People. 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 Invest in that. Are you investing in anyone? Who? How? Wise people invest in things that last and subordinate things that are temporary. Just like Jesus did.